Congress has the power of the purse. Monday, the House will begin its debate on the proposed 2014 national budget of 2.268 trillion pesos. The Priority Development Assistance Fund was scrapped and will be realigned to other agencies which will deliver the services needed by their constituents. Now, will the PDAF's abolition delay the approval of the budget? Joining us tonight on the line is Ms. Malou Tiquia, President of Publicus and one of the country's top political analysts. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to NewsLife.
Hi, good evening, Robert.
Ma'am, did the House lose its power of the purse with the scrapping of the PDAF?
Well, not really, because they will still have to approve the budget, and technically the realignment is within the power of the purse.
Now, ma'am, the scrapping was triggered by the 10 billion peso Janet Napoles pork scam. With the investigation in the expected filing of charges against Napoles and several lawmakers, now, will this lead to more transparency and accountability in spending taxpayers' money?
Yes, because one, it's very clear in the Senate hearings that there are loopholes in the implementation at the level of the implementing agency and also at the level of DBM. The testimony today showed that there's actually a syndicate that peddles this service to members of Congress. So both at the executive and the legislative branches, there'd be reforms in terms of procedural reforms and I guess the way they allot the earmarks for projects.
Now, the public office, say public trust. Now, the Napoles expose should also be a lesson for all of, especially voters. Now, do you think right now people will wake up and during the next elections vote for public officials or not vote for public officials who betray their trust?
Robert, that is kind of too far. That's 2 years from now. Offhand, what I see is that there'd be more conscious effort on the way they allocate. There's a public clamor on understanding the budgetary process. There's also a call for the passage of the Freedom of Information Bill. The Whistleblowers Bill is also necessary so that those who would want to do what Mr. Lui is doing should have their rights also protected. The other thing that probably most advocates would want a huge push would be the anti-political dynasty bill.
Ma'am, were you able to watch the Blue Ribbon Committee today when Ben-Hur Lui was put on the stand?
Yes,
what did you think of his credibility?
Well, offhand, I would want to see the affidavit. If you just look at his facial expression, his body language, it would appear that he knew the process. In fact, he knew what a SARO is versus what NCA is. So he would appear as a person who was actually involved, and the manner by which he related their circumstance was kind of forthright. So I think he is really an insider, but I would want to hold in abeyance any decision to prejudge things because we still have to await for the affidavits of these whistleblowers.
Now, with what was exposed today in the hearing, now what does it say about the system that's in place in terms of dispersing taxpayers' money?
Well, one, I'm very glad that Congress is taking the cudgels for the institution. The other day, the neophyte members of Congress had their petition. Fully so, they should take the forefront on this scandal. The decision of the Senate to have a hearing is also laudable because you cannot really avoid the responsibility of the institution. You have to take the cudgels for the institution if you want the institution to be strengthened in the long run.
Now, it has been within the institution of Congress, the Senate. Now, the implementing agencies as well. Now, with the abolition of the PDAF, is this enough? Or should other mechanisms be put in place to ensure that the money goes where it's supposed to be?
Well, I think it's we're just seeing the other side where you do the release to NGOs. We haven't really seen an audit done on local government units. There's a partial. I would hope that COA will do a 100% audit of the years mentioned and of the years in the last 3 years. Then you will have context. Then you will be able to compare, and then you will be able to put in place processes that need to be followed and probably to the letter, so that this thing is avoided. But Robert, the single most important principle for me is taxation without representation. You just cannot pull away the power of the purse of Congress. If you want to do that, then you might as well do a constitutional amendment and remove the power of the purse from Congress. Kaya yung decision na, let's abolish, it's very easy to say, I've abolished it by removing PDAF, but when you realign, it's still there.
Yes.
So you will now have to come up with a process that is very clear, very transparent, and those who identify the line item budget of their projects will have to be accountable.
Ma'am, and a final word from me. How do you see this panning out?
Oh, well, let's see how the cases are filed. This PDAF scam is actually testing the institutions of this country. I would hope that the institutions are not damaged further, and I would hope that there'd be a way where institutions can be strengthened and members can be held accountable.
Ma'am, just to add, how is the outside world looking at what's happening here in the Philippines? We've been doing very well in terms of the economy in the past year. Now, in the first and the second quarter of this year, how is this going to affect how the outside world, the other countries, look at the Philippines in terms of investments?
I think the macroeconomic position of the country is pretty strong. Our economy is pretty strong. The inclusive growth will have to be attended to. Jobless growth will have to be attended to. But this issue becomes central to whatever legacy the Aquino administration will leave. Why? Because they entered with the battle cry of Tuwid na Daan. And it has always been an issue for the Philippines that corruption is the #1 problem. So it is very important to see what would be the options, the programs that will be laid out once cases are filed. There's a joining of issues, and we can hold accountable public officials.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much for joining us here tonight on NewsLife. That was Ms. Malou Tiquia of Publicos.